This video was sponsored by Ridge. As Nothing But Thieves once wrote, "Summer is gone, and I'm suffocating, waiting on a Ridge wallet."
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Ridge makes no frills, simple lifestyle products that last a long time to boot. Products for people who do stuff like this. Or like this. Or like this. The Ridge wallet is obviously their most popular design. It consists of two pieces of hard material, either a hard polymer or in this case aluminum, as you can see, strapped together by an elastic band. Cash strap or a money clip on the back holds your cash, and it's about this big. So it hardly takes up any space in your pocket at all. Now, it's fall, and it's probably time to put away the tropical theme wallet for a little while, but fortunately for me, Ridge wallets come in a number of different styles too. With free shipping and handling, you can go to ridge.com/Gregor and use the promo code Gregor at checkout to get 10% off of your very own Ridge wallet. It comes with a lifetime warranty, but if for some reason you don't like it, you can also return it absolutely free. Check out the link in the Who's It What's It down below, and thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring this video. So dudes, today I want to talk about the RONI. A lot of you do not think it needs to be nerfed, and I agree with you. In this poll, you guys were presented with multiple options for potential nerfs. I tried to really divvy it up in a way that allowed people to give different opinions, more nuanced opinions, on the idea of a RONI nerf. And despite this, the overwhelming majority of people believe that it shouldn't be nerfed. And I think that's a reasonable take to have. In terms of Mozzie, a little bit more people were privy to the idea of just taking away the 1.5 on Mozzie. But that's kind of it. Let's break this down. Let's say that we nerf the RONI entirely. Well, then we have two operators that basically just got nerfed. We're going to end up nerfing a RONI, we're going to end up nerfing Mozzie. What if the solution is more nuanced than that? What if the main problem is that Mozzie tends to have a high pick rate or a high win delta or whatever, and it's all due to that dastardly 1.5 times scope? So you take away the 1.5 on the RONI, then a RONI, who has been pretty frequently used in competitive and in ranked as of late, is still going to be running around with this thing, doing the problem, contributing to the problem, if you want to call it a problem. I don't think it's a problem, that you were already complaining about. The thing about the RONI is that it has a small magazine, and you can't take lots of different gunfights with it. And the importance of capacity, I think, in terms of a balancing decision, is something that can't be understated, because it is one of the few elements of an FPS game where you can actively make a concerted effort to limit a user's ability to take multiple gunfights. You don't make the gun more quote-unquote difficult to use, you don't increase the recoil, you don't change the damage, you don't change the rate of fire. You just put a hard limit on the number of engagements that an individual can take. Seems, for the most part, fair. Especially with Aruni's role, because her whole job, more or less, is to provide another layer of defense for a site, and then she'll make rotates, and then she'll just kind of chill, usually. You know? I think Aruni in a ranked setting can function as a roamer and as an anchor. Kind of depends on what you're doing. But I think, personally, she's more suited to anchoring in ranked. There are plenty of operators in the game that have pretty decent guns, despite the fact that they're anchors. Maestro's a really good example of that. Arguably the best gun on defense with the Alta 5.56. If it was on a character that was a 2-speed or a 3-speed, obviously that would be a problem. But it's not. Just because a gun has low recoil and a high rate of fire does not make it a god gun. My game just crashed. Okay, we're back. Just because a gun has low recoil and a high rate of fire doesn't make it a freaking god gun. I don't know why. Like, yes, it makes it good. It makes it a solid siege gun. Whereas in other games, it probably wouldn't be that great. I'm gonna try to body shot this guy. Pretty long TTK there. Let's find another guy to body shot. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not a freaking god gun. It only looks crazy good in the hands of skilled players, because skilled players can happen to click heads more than unskilled players. Like, I'm sorry, but there will always be mechanically skilled players in an FPS game. You will not get rid of them. Well, you might get rid of them. You might get rid of them if you keep nerfing guns just because aimers gravitate towards the least common denominator, let's say, right? The least common unifying gun. Is that a mathematical measurement of guns in an FPS game? I don't know. You get the idea. Skilled players are going to gravitate towards the weapon that they're going to get the highest amount of performance floor out of, perceived performance floor out of, regardless of things like util. And there's not a whole freaking lot we can do about it, aside from raise the importance of gadgets in this game, which we had for a little while. We had a 20-second meta that everybody was complaining about, myself included. And, you know, now the game is a little bit less utility-based, right? You can kind of run around. You can frag a little bit more. Does that mean that in ranked, it's not annoying when people just run around and play Call of Duty on defense? Of course not. It is still annoying. You know, people are just gonna not play games correctly sometimes. It's just kind of how it is, especially in ranked matchmaking. That's more of a culture about the game than it is game balancing. There's not a whole lot you can do in terms of game balancing to corral and to force people to play something a certain way. You can persuade them through incentives, and that's a hallmark of good game design. But I really don't like this. I really don't like this approach to these conversations. I don't like these discussions that we keep having in this community whenever we have a gun that aimers are using, and then people get mad because aimers are using them. You have a game with one-shot headshots. The purpose of that tweet that I put out a long time ago, well, not really a long time ago, maybe about a week or so ago, the one about one-shot headshots, I talked about it a little bit on the Logic Bomb show with Zoronic and Get Flanked. The purpose of that tweet wasn't to make an argument for taking away one-shot headshots. I personally think that it's something that should be considered, but I also understand if Ubisoft doesn't want to do it for a number of different reasons. But here's the thing. We can't do two things at the same time here. This is one of those cases where we can't do two things at the same time. Two things can't be right. We cannot pretend that this game does not reward some level of mechanical aim while having one-shot headshots. As long as this game has one-shot headshots, we are always going to see this. We are always going to see guns like the RONI get picked up by aimers, by cracked, anime profile pick .-LFT people. And that's just how it's going to be. That's just how it's going to be. Especially, you know, on characters like Mozzie. You know, he's got C4. He can deny plant from below. He can get intel. A RONI can deny grenades to a certain extent, depending on the site. She can make rotates. Now, does that mean the RONI's OP because it's getting paired with an operator that has decent gadgetry? It's not like a RONI has the Alda, right? Surely it's not that complicated. And the same thing with the scope. Same thing talking about the scope. You know, Mozzie gets the 1.5 taken away from him. Then what do? The gun's still the same. It's going to get used a lot. Still going to get used on a RONI. Still going to get used on Mozzie, probably. In fact, I remember when Mozzie first came out, one of the arguments that people were metagaming for a long time was that the RONI was actually not as good as the Commando. Because the Commando had more upside to it. Yeah, it didn't have as high of a rate of fire, but you could take multiple engagements, or you could take more engagements, successive engagements, back to back, than the RONI, because the RONI fucking chews through its magazine so fast. The Commando had better body shot TTK, so in case you didn't hit the headshot, you could still kill them with body shots. And that's, you know, that's fine. Like, there are different options for some characters. That should be okay. You know, you have a hero shooter, you should give people options. You shouldn't be focused on taking options away. Sometimes you give a player an option, like Zofia with Stan, that doesn't really have any logical basis behind it. Yeah, take stuff like that away. But taking skill-based mechanics away from people, and in this case, we're talking about guns, just because skilled people are using them a lot. I really don't know what you want. I really don't know what you want to do to the game, man, if that's where you're at. It seems like a really bizarre stance to me, personally. Are we gonna have this conversation about every good gun in the game? That's kind of what it feels like right now. Let me know what you guys think. Deuces.